Hello everyone and welcome back to another Draft Today video. My name is Jeff Hoagland and we have our first pack here in front of us. This is actually a really good pack. We've got a lot of pretty playable cards in it. We've got Totemic Elder, which is a 4-cost, 5/5 socketable miner that on Deathcry it conscripts a 3-cost, a 2-cost, and a 1-cost, and the created cards get all the socketed powers of this. I think this is 10 out of 10, just like first pickable basically every time. It's in Diamond, so you're always going to be able to put a Flight Gem in this bad boy, so once they do eventually kill it, if they actually kill it as opposed to just like Shackling Strandsing it or voiding it, you're going to get 3 more troops that are all evasive. If there wasn't a bomb rare in this pack, other playables, the Determined Bushy is plenty first pickable. We saw this do really well in our Sapphire Wild deck earlier this week. We have Chastise here, I first picked that plenty of times. I don't think Eager Lackey or Feed the Flames are quite first pickable. We're also drafting 666 again today. So, again, Ruby's a little bit weaker in 666, I think, so 10 out of 10 taking the Totemic Elder, hoping that the Chastise, the Gallant Spearcliff, or the Bushy come back around, or maybe even the Eager Lackey. Like, the Totemic Elder could be a start to a Sapphire Diamond deck, but it could also be a really good start to the Wild Diamond Conscript deck. This pack's a little bit medium. We have a bomb uncommon here in Guardian Gralk, and we have Vanquish that's plenty playable. But outside of that, there's nothing too particularly impressive about this pack. I don't think Mosh Pit Gladiator is a reason to move into Blood, but it's definitely a pickup if we were already in Blood. So I feel like I have 2 different choices here. I can either grab the Vanquish to like stay on Diamond and not really move into a second shard yet, or I could pick up the Gralk as just like, you know, start pushing into that Sapphire Diamond Flyers archetype. I think I want to grab the Gralk because I feel like this is a card that signals Sapphire could potentially be open, and if I move into Sapphire, I don't want to send that signal. I'm not 100% sure which shards I'm playing at this point, but I think this sends the right message to the people that I'm passing to. It's also possible, like that first pack that I passed had a lot of good Diamond cards in addition to the Totemic Elder, so we might get cut on Diamond in the next pack here, especially if we keep passing good Diamond cards. And I guess Vanquish is like a medium playable Diamond card, but it's not particularly stellar. Gralk is a card that I'm playing just absolutely every time if I end up in Sapphire. It's like, I think I've ever gotten one of those and not played it. Survey her Hope on the Horizon. At the end of your turn, void up to 1 target troop you control, revert that troop. At the end of each opposing champion's turn, the voided troop is put into play. That doesn't seem particularly good. I see why it's selling this pack pick 3. As far as playables in this pack go, we have a Skittering Cultivator that's fairly good in Sapphire, and we have an Outflank. So we also have a Draka Outcast here, and a Howling Plains Runner. So this is kind of like, I feel like a pivotal choice moment. I could grab the Draka Outcast and try and start drafting the Conscript deck, or I could grab the Skittering Cultivator and continue to send the message to the person I'm passing to that you probably shouldn't be in Sapphire. I think I'm going to send the message that you probably shouldn't be in Sapphire. I feel like Sapphire is one of the best supporting colors in this limited format, just like a lot of the really powerful Sapphire cards are common, so you can usually afford to get a lot of them, and if we're not passing them early, we're likely going to get a lot of them in the next pack. This pack's got a lot of good stuff in it too. Kind of, there's another card for the possible Conscript deck, so the Deepwood Draka, and maybe I force things a little bit too often in the Sapphire Diamond, but this pack has a lot of good Sapphire cards in it too. We have a Diamond's Favor here. That's plenty reasonable. Each opposing champion sacrifices a constant. Troops you go +3 defense this turn to destroy a random troop with 5 defense or more. So I could grab the Diamond's Favor and push myself more firmly into the Sapphire Diamond archetype, or I could pick up the Cerulean Sage and be like on Sapphire with maybe Diamond. I think I don't mind committing to the Diamond plan, but again, if I cut this card, it cuts the only playable Sapphire card out of this pack, which is kind of nice. This card I feel is more powerful on average than Cerulean Sage, but Cerulean Sage sends a better message about this pack, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Sage. And like, The nice thing about picking up the Sage and staying stronger at Sapphire is if we get past a really powerful card like Underworld Officer or open that in the next pack, we could potentially pivot into that and just like not play the Totemic Elder. One of the traps you can really fall into while drafting is not reading the signals that you're getting as you're drafting and like committing. Like you don't want to just go into Diamond just because you first picked a Diamond card. And again, I'm really happy with the decisions I've made so far. We're rewarded here by continuing to pick Sapphire cards by getting a Cloudbounder here, and while Dread Deployment is playable in a very specific deck, and we did pass a Tactician as well, so someone might move into the Dreadlings deck, Cloudbounder is the only like objectively good in like a vacuum Sapphire card in this pack, so I'm plenty happy to pick that up. Galleon Spearcliff is plenty playable. Trueheart Skirmisher is playable, Galleon Sentinel is playable. This pack's actually pretty good for the Dreadling archetype. There's Dread Transport and Deployment here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Bounder for sure. And then we're firmly into Sapphire at this point, and we might be into Diamond, but we're just going to try and wait and get a feel for what looks open. Okay, here in this pack, there aren't any particularly good Sapphire cards for what we're looking to do. I don't think we're picking an Amphibious Arachnid at this point. Dread Deployment, I'm really not interested in moving into that archetype. I could pick up Vanquish here and cement ourselves more into the Diamond that we already have here with the Totemic Elder. Like I'm like 10 out of 10 playing a Vanquish if I end up in Diamond, so I think that's going to be the pick. I could see Eager Lackey being reasonable as well, just because it's the only playable wild card in this pack, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Vanquish and just like start moving towards the Sapphire Diamond Ada decks. This pack doesn't have anything too particularly exciting in it for our deck. Cards that are objectively very good in this pack are Feed the Flames, which is one of the quality Ruby removal spells. Draka Outcast is good in the Conscript deck, but we're definitely not in that at this point. These two cards are okay. Mechanized Gem Scout's a card that's playable in Sapphire Diamond because with Flight on attack, I would love to... this card's like, it's a 3/3 flyer basically for 4. I think I'm actually going to grab the Feed the Flames here since it's just like the strongest removal in the pack, because if we open like a Bomb Ruby card, I wouldn't be opposed to playing those as opposed to these. Alright, this pack again here, there aren't any good Sapphire, there aren't any good Diamond in here. I could just go ahead and pick up this Ayachi Cavalry for a potential pivot into Ruby, because if this card's coming around, everyone has picked a card out of this pack, and this is one of the better Ruby cards in the format. While this is Valorous, it can't be blocked by non-Valorous troops, so it basically becomes a 3/3 unblockable if you pick up a couple of Valor producers, so... yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and pick this up at this point, because I'm probably not playing a Windswim or a Staunch Resolve, even if I am in Sapphire Diamond. So, if someone else is in Ruby and hoping to get this back, we're going to cut them from it, and if we end up moving into Ruby ourselves, we'll definitely play it. Because we're like 2 and 2, like 2 playable Diamond cards, 2 playable Ruby cards at this point. And I actually think Feed the Flames is the better removal than the Vanquish. So, as far as good cards go in this pack, Illusionary Form's like pseudo-playable. The nice thing about this card is it puts the troop back into play exhausted, which is kind of sweet because it allows you to enable Diligence on something. I think I'm going to pick up the Illusionary Form. I wouldn't fault anyone for cutting the Eager Lackey out of this pack just because it's the best wild card here, but I think Illusionary Form is worth picking up. So as far as this pack goes, none of these Ruby cards are particularly good in this pack. We have Mechanized Compactor and Rise to the Challenge and Ruthless Cutthroat. This is good in a specific deck, same thing with Compactor. I don't think Rise to the Challenge is particularly playable almost ever, so I'm never going to pick it up. I'm actually going to grab the Awakened Herald here. I don't think we're going to start it in the main deck, but like maybe there's a world where like we end up with something fancy and we want to splash Ruby. This produces 2 of the 3 thresholds that the deck would play. Nothing particularly exciting in here. Rust Bucket Distractor is like a playable card, but Outflank's a pretty good card if we end up in Sapphire Diamond, so... I think I'm going to grab the Outflank as opposed to the Rust Bucket Distractor, just because I would like to lean towards the Diamond since I have the Totemic Elder as a bomb, but we'll see. This pack, as far as cards go, I'm pretty happy to grab the Talonkeep Watcher here. We already have like 8 playables in Sapphire and Diamond here, so I'm not going to be sad if we draft this and don't play it, but especially in 666, if we get a bunch of Talonkeep Watchers, that would be really awesome. So I'm gonna grab that for now and I'm gonna hide it, but it's definitely a card that we could end up playing in the Sapphire Diamond build. Royal Harbor is like probably the most playable card in this pack, but I don't think I've ever actually played this card in a draft deck. I'm gonna take it because like maybe if we end up really short on playables, but I don't think this card is particularly well positioned with the way the format lines up a lot of the time. I'm gonna grab the Arachnid here because I actually have registered this card because like a 2/4 for 3 just like holds the ground really well, and the way the Sapphire Diamond Flyers deck generally plays out is you gum up the ground and then kill them in the air with a couple of flying threats. Alright, and this pack, it looks like we are going to cement ourselves firmly into Diamond here, so we stayed open and we got rewarded for it. We got a Llama Herder here, just 2/2, basic, exhaust 1 or more of their troops you control. This gets +1/+1 its own turn for each troop exhausted that way, and Diligence, summon a Llama. So this is just like a strong, proactive turn 2 play, and I don't think we're rarely going to lose a game where you go Llama Herder on 2 into Cloudbound or Exhausted on 3. This pack's actually really good for us. Hopefully the Gralk, the Vigilant Duskwing, the Spearcliff, or the Sage Wheel. I usually don't value picking up the second Vanquish very highly, but I guess I'd take that out of there if all of these other 4 were gone. The way the last pack went, I'd be pretty surprised if all 4 of these went around the table, though. This pack is also pretty good for us. Web Scribe and Skittering Cultivator, very playable cards. We wouldn't mind picking this up later when it comes back around, so we have more of them, but Shackling Strands is 10 out of 10 to pick here. Just really, this is the best piece of Sapphire removal in the set. I always pick this very highly in any deck I'm playing that involves Sapphire, so just basically gets rid of something, sands them being able to revert it. So just very, very powerful card. We're kind of light on removal in this deck. This is in fact only our second piece of removal alongside this Vanquish, so ideally for this deck to round out well, we really love to get a Diamond's Favor, Decree of Banishing, what's another good one? Chastise, I think, is one of the best removal spells in the format, and that's in our Threshold, so we actually passed the Chastise for this Totemic Elder, but I think that's a fine swap. Up next, this pack looks a little bit weak on the surface, but I actually Storm Rider is one of my favorite cards in this set in this archetype, and Revision is a card that I've gained a lot of respect for. It's very powerful. Revert trigger card for just one is a quick action. It undoes things like Grandfather's Elk's ability. It basically is counter target combat trick, and it also like undoes things like opposing shackling strands and stuff like that. Storm Rider's a threat and can also one-shot revert at basic speed, so I think this is definitely the higher pick priority, but I'd be pretty happy if that revision comes back around. I think every Diamond deck I'm playing in this format for now is main decking at least the first revision, and I could definitely see arguments being made for main decking the second. I definitely, the last couple times I've played Sapphire Diamond, I've boarded in 2 and even 3 revisions more than once. And hey look, we're getting a lot of the things that we asked for. Here's the Chastise that I said we were talking about, prioritizing picking up some more removal, so 10 out of 10 gonna grab that. Our deck's a little bit light on card draw. Usually I would like to see some Scholars by now, or if we're really lucky, a Consult the Talons or 2 in the uncommon slot, but as a whole, the deck's coming together pretty reasonably here. We've got some good bombs at the top end, and we picked up some quality removal. We've got a Llama Herder down here, that's a bomb at the bottom end. I feel kind of like maybe I should have talked about the pack longer when I grab it, and then we have a long wait here. What are other fun things we could do while the timer counts down? I'll have to put some thought into that. I'm doing plenty of these, so good to have a time sync here. Yeah, so there's another outflank in here, but I really don't like drafting 2 of those. I'm 10 out of 10 pretty happy to take this Cerulean Sage. A lot of people in this format don't do anything on the first, even 3 turns sometimes, so like having a good, strong, proactive turn 1 play is very powerful. So we're about halfway through this pack now, and we don't have any on-shard coins yet, which kind of sucks. So I would love to see a Serikos coins or Wakuna coins here. Thankfully, since it's a 666, we have a whole other pack to get some coins going. We're at 14 playables here, so like right around on track, and this Talonkeep Watcher is like definitely playable if we end up a little bit short. This pack is super reasonable for us. This is actually kind of a close pick, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards on my bottom end already. And I only have one, two, I guess I have 3 pieces of top end here, and I have a couple things in the middle. I think the pick is between the Web Scribe and the Gallant Spearcliff here. I think I'm going to lean on the Web Scribe just because like having more proactive plays in the early game is generally better, and usually things like this will wheel, and you can usually have an easier time finding top end as opposed to bottom end in this draft format, it feels like. So I'm going to prioritize taking the Web Scribe here. The Blind Side is definitely a playable diamond card, but I usually don't like playing more than one, and I definitely feel like we want to round out our troops more rather than do that. And we got rewarded for picking up more cards in our lower by getting another Cloudbounder here. This card's just very powerful, and it's one of the reasons you want to prioritize filling out your lower curves so you can consistently play this card on turn 3 when you draw it. I had the draft earlier this week where we had like quad Cloudbounder, and when I played the games out, I had a number of clunky games where I just like had a bunch of Cloudbounders and didn't have a 1 or a 2, so pretty happy with how this is ironing out so far. Alright, and so we've got 6 things that cost 2 or less now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 5. So this pack is between the Seracos coins and the Web Scribe. Be pretty surprised if any of them wheel here. So I think I would rather take the coins because usually we end up with far too many playable cards, and that's what we got there. I must have double clicked it by mistake. Wow, this pack is stacked. So this is the one we saw. This is our first pack, right? Yes, this is the wheel. So the Gralk's in here, the Sage is in here, the Spearcliff's in here, the Vigilant Duskwing's in here. I think I'd like to prioritize grabbing this Vigilant Duskwing because it's like a top-end bomb that also plays defense as well. I would really just like all 3 of these cards. I wish these were spread out a little bit more. I'm going to grab the Duskwing because I think it's objectively the best card for our deck here, the way everything's shaped up so far, but I wouldn't fault anyone for taking the Gralk or the Sage here as well. As far as this pack goes, nothing too terribly exciting in it. I'm going to go ahead and draft the Friar Tusk here because I board this out, or I board this in against decks that have Dreadlings in it. So, like 10 out of 10 doing that. And these other cards, like the Eldritch Shriek, is just really unplayable without a set 5 pack to follow it up to get the other ones. Yep, there's that revision that came back around for us, and like I said, 10 out of 10 playing the first revision in the main deck here. We're already up to like 18 playable cards, so like the first cuts as we get more playable cards are probably the Amphibious Arachnid as well as the Outflank here, possibly the Illusionary form as well. We'll cross those bridges as the playables come though. This pack, yeah, Outflank's playable. I've never played more than one Outflank, and like we're already kind of getting close on playables here. I'm gonna pick it up just because like it's the most powerful card in this pack, but we're probably not gonna play the second Outflank here. I'm gonna hide the Arachnid for now. Like 17 playables, and we're still a pack to go. We should be able to get 5 playables out of the last pack, no problem. I'm gonna grab... Both of these cards are similar levels of mediocrity, but Stalagamage is more annoying. I've lost some close... I'm never happy with this card when I play it, but there's some really awkward situations your opponent can put you in, where it just like gets those last few points of damage through after you stabilize. Gem Scout, most playable card in the pack, probably not playable in this deck. I grab the Maimed Shrieker here. And grab the last one. Bomb? 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 Okay. Yeah, I think that qualifies as a bomb. I don't... Is this what I want to be doing with our lives? There is definitely a strong argument for taking the Shackling Strands over the Midnight Gatherer in this pack. I'm gonna double check and make sure Midnight Gatherer is not worth money, that I should just be rare drafting it at this point, but I'm pretty sure it's not. This card's powerful and definitely constructed playable. That's a couple of bucks. Yeah, I'm going to grab the Midnight Gatherer. It could be possible this is objectively the right pick. When it flips, it's only going to be a 2/2 with Life Drain, but like... So like, at the start of your turn, you either get a random resource, so it's drawing you cards, or it turns into a thing that's Flight Steadfast, Life Drain, and +1/+1 for each threshold you have. And we're only going to have 2 different types of thresholds in this deck, but just like drawing a bunch of resources out of our deck to like hit our resource drops consistently and fuel our Ada power is going to be very reasonable. This pack is very reasonable for us. Not only is there a Vigilant Duskwing in here, but I mentioned we're kind of light on card draw, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this Skyspire Scholar. It's a 0/6 for 3 that you pay 6 to draw 2 cards. And this card actually makes our copies of Revision and Stormrider extra good, because after you one-shot this, you can revert it with Stormrider or Revision and then draw 2 more cards. So basically, it makes the floor on Revision a lot lower, because you can just, like, pay 7 and cycle this card, which sounds like a lot of resources, but the way this deck archetype usually plays out in this limited format, you are pretty happy and like have those resources in the late game as you're grinding each other out. You get up to 19 playables now, so without having to dip into the things that are kind of medium, we only need 3 more playables out of this pack. Would like another Chastise, Decree of Banishing, Shackling Strands. Those are types of cards we're looking for at this point. And there's a Shackling Strand, so yep, 10 out of 10 picking that up. Would love it if the Cerulean Sage or the Gallant Spearcliff wheeled back to us, but 10 out of 10, look, asked for removal and then got it. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards that cost 2 or less now. Wouldn't mind one more of those. Up to 20 playables now, so looking for 2 more. And this pack is littered with playables for us. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up another Skyspire Scholar, just because we have 2 revert effects. Would not mind the Skittering Cultivator coming back around, though. I don't think we're looking for a second Vanquish. The Blindside would be okay. We don't have any of those that we're playing yet. I usually value Blindside a little bit higher than Outflank, just because this gives +3/+3, which gives you that little bit more burst damage when you're looking to, like, close the game out. Often Blindside and Outflank allow you to swing a race in your favor because they're damage that's not on board, so your opponent can't count it when they're racing. Up next. Man, another Skyspire Scholar. If I'd have known this Scholar was coming, I probably would have taken the Skittering Cultivator out of that last pack, but you know, hindsight's 20/20. I still think this is the right pick out of this. This is our only card draw on this deck so far, and we've only got, you know, 1, 2, 3 of them, so I'm pretty happy to grab that, and if we grab another card that's playable in this next pack, I'm kind of okay with cutting this Outflank. We're definitely not playing a second Illusionary Forms, but there's nothing else in this pack that's particularly interesting to us. Honestly, I might just, like, cut this Turbulence, because there's a very real chance that you play against someone in your pod in your first match right after, even though you can play outside of pods in the way Draft Gauntlets work, so yeah, I think I'm going to cut this Turbulence. Up next. Hey, look at that. So, Razor Edge Duelist is a plenty playable card, and we're kind of looking for another 2, but like 10 out of 10 grabbing these coins instead of cutting a playable for a slightly better playable. I think this is the right pick here. Hopefully we get another 2 that comes back around, but I'm pretty happy to get another coin in the mix. Sweet, wouldn't have any coins if this third pack hadn't happened. We don't have any playable 2s in here, but Gallant Spiritcliff is a card I'm happy to pick up. 2/4 flight, deploy, make a Valor. It's basically a 3/5 flight for 4. I think I'm going to grab this. I'm going to cut this Illusionary Form here. Not particularly excited to play that card in general. The reason why I keep counting my lower numbers of cards is we have these 2 Cloudbounders here, and like I mentioned, you basically want to make sure that you always have a 1 or a 2, so that way when you draw your Cloudbounder, you can make sure you can bound him out on the 3rd turn of the game. If your opponent, it's like a answer or get tempoed out a lot of the time, it's really hard for most people to race a 3/3 flyer on the 3rd turn of the game. I've back one picked one this common before, it's fantastic. Not really interested in playing any of these other cards in my main deck, but I'm 10 out of 10 going to board in this revision at some point when this card is good, so I'm going to add that to the reserves. Up next, nothing particularly playable in here. I guess I'll take over. I'm gonna cut an Explosive Interlude since it's the most playable card in the pack. None of these other cards are very reasonable. Almost done here. I think we're basically just gonna add resources and call it a day here. We've got 2 double Sapphire cards at the top end here. We don't have any other double Sapphire cards lower on, right? Yeah, so I think this is going to be a 10-8 resource split. It's probably going to be 9-9 because we have Cerulean Sages here at the bottom. So we need double diamond for Spearcliff and Totemic Elder, and we also need double diamond for our champion power, but a lot of our cheaper cards are Sapphire. So I think I would like to focus on that. I think Gallant Duelist is just the most playable card in this pack. Feral Root Tactics is a close second. Yeah, I'm going to cut the Tactics, actually, since there's a bunch of Ruby cards in this pack, and this is a playable combat trick for someone. Gravebane Vial is a card that occasionally you might board in against someone that has Crypt stuff, but I'm actually going to cut... I think I'd rather cut the Arachno Glider or the Gallant Sentinel here, just because they're both annoying to play against for our archetype. Alright, as far as this pack goes, I'm actually going to grab the Wakuna Lookout. I never start with this card in my main deck, but I'll board it in some aggressive matchups as a 1/3 for 1. Just can, like, hold off Dreadlings especially. A lot of the Dreadling matchups come down to how many X3s and X4s can you put on the board to, like, make them go extra wide so you can beat them down in the air. Friar Tusk. Easy enough to board in. I don't have any sockets in this deck. Well, Totemic Elder is socketed. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll put a Flight Gem in this guy. We'll go 7 Sapphire, 9 Diamond, and then call it a day. Yep, just working through the dredges here. I'm going to do my spiel while we work through dredges here at the end. Thanks everyone for joining us here for another Draft a Day video. My name is Jeff Hoagland. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to like the video on YouTube as well as share it on your social media. You can also support my content by doing a couple different things. The first is by supporting our sponsors. If you're going to buy some Hex TCG singles anyways, you can do so on Hex Primal using the code Jeff5 for 5% off of your order. That'll support my content. You can also support my stuff directly by subscribing on Twitch for $4.99 a month or becoming a patron on Patreon, and I really do appreciate all of that. Those come with different perks, and you can check those out listed in the video description down below. I'll be back tomorrow with another Draft a Day video, so we'll go ahead and add some shards and socket up our Totemic Elder here, and then we will call it a day. Also, don't forget to keep an eye on my social media / my blog on my personal website for when I will be posting the weekly contest for guessing how each of these decks did. Add in 7 and 9. Double check everything. Yep, and go ahead and save, and that'll do it, folks. Catch you all around.